What is going on, CaneSport? It is Izubee Charles, and good morning to you all. It is May 24th, 2023, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us on this episode of Good Morning CaneSport. Today, I'm joined by Stephen Wagner as we break down the news of the day. And first up this morning, before we get into any Miami news, I wanted to get into Matt Shodell news. It has been 8 days since we've seen our Stone Crab King, Matt Shodell, and honestly, I miss him, and I know the people back home miss him. So, Matt, if you're watching this, please come back home to us. We miss you. We miss your witty remarks, your funny jokes, and all your negativity every morning on Good Morning Cane Sport. So, Matt, if you see this is our cry for help to come back to Good Morning Cane Sport. We miss you, and we need you on the show. But on a lighter note, we had another commitment, I should say, on Monday from a 2026 prospect. Yes, I said that correctly. 2026 defensive back out of IMG, Kasani Giles. Steven, you spoke with Mr. Giles, kind of came to the surprise to us, to almost everyone out there when he announced that commitment, a 2026 prospect fresh off a visit to Miami. What did he have to say about that commitment? Why did he decide to, commit so early in the process and just all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm pretty sure PETA or one of the animal rights groups finally got a hold of Matt after seeing what he was doing to the stone crabs. Matt, if you're in PETA prison, don't give me a call. Going back to Kasani Giles for a second. Yeah, so we all saw Dennis Smith tweet out that graphic of Randy's Donuts in Inglewood, which I only know where it is from the movie Iron Man 2. If it wasn't for Iron Man 2, I would have absolutely no idea where that was. That was kind of the indicator. Hey, something's probably going on out in California. That's not the bat signal. I know a bunch of people were asking, hey, is this the bat signal? That's not the bat signal. The storm warning thing with the U logo on it, that's the bat signal. The other thing was just kind of an indicator of, hey, something's going on here. Something's up. And whenever I saw that, my first thought immediately was something must be going on at maybe Matt or Die, because me and Gary, whenever we saw the logo, or whenever we saw the Randy's Donuts picture posted, the first thing we started doing is seeing what schools are kind of in the area of Randy's Donuts. The first one that I came to was Matt or Die. Basically the IMG Academy of California. And as we know, Miami has been pretty aggressively recruiting Brandon Baker and Aiden Breland, a couple of 2024 really elite top 100 offensive and defensive linemen respectively. And my first thought was, holy crap, Miami's about to get Aiden Breland. Miami is about to land an absolutely massive signature recruit in the 2024 class. This is about to be absolutely huge. Well, it still was pretty big, but I was just off by 2 years and completely forgot that Kasani Giles is from Inglewood. Miami really captured a lot of momentum with Giles over these last 2 months, really showing him a lot of love and a lot of attention. And to put it simply, they were really just able to capitalize on the momentum that they've generated. Giles basically said it's been a really, really good 2 months. He's loved the attention that he's gotten from Miami. He's loved the relationship that he's been able to build with the coaching staff. And he just, it really felt like he had a lot of excitement. And he was just like, man, you know what? Like, I think let's go ahead and pull the trigger. I think let's go ahead and lock in a commitment here. He, like we said, he's a 2026 guy, which means that we've still got 3 years before his signing day. So we have got a lot of time before, he's really sitting there front and center in the spotlight. But basically, Miami made a great impression on him over the weekend whenever he came down to visit. They also made a huge impression on his mother. This was her first time getting down to Coral Gables. This is actually Giles' second. He also visited with, I think, Jarrett Gibson and a few other IMG guys back in either March or April. I can't remember when specifically, but this is actually his second time on campus. Miami capitalized with him in a really, really big way. They made a massive impression on his mother as well. There's nothing but good feelings over there. And Giles basically just said, yeah, let's go ahead and pull the trigger on this bad boy. Let's go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off. Let's do the damn thing. And so he went ahead and committed Said he made his mom really, really happy. He actually committed on Friday, or I'm sorry, on Saturday. He told the staff he wanted to commit on Saturday, but he waited until Monday to make the announcement because Monday was his mother's birthday, and he wanted to make the announcement on his mother's birthday.
Yeah, when I saw that kind of the happy birthday mom, I thought that was a pretty cool way to announce your commitment. So, that's pretty cool seeing. Obviously, Miami looking to build that IMG to Coral Gables pipeline, but they are going down the road in the future with that. So we'll see how that develops. Hopefully, in 3 years, Kasani Giles is still committed to Miami, but a lot can happen between now and the 2026 class of signing day. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that in the long run. But jumping back to the 2024 class of guys in the spotlight, a name that committed elsewhere, LaWayne McCoy, committed to Florida State, and I had the chance to catch up with him after my trip to Miami Central. He pretty much told me, hey, I'm committed to Florida State, but I'm still, openly looking at other schools, kind of like how every prospect in this 2024 class, or since I've been covering recruiting, said, hey, I'm committed, but I'm not closing out any other schools. And I kind of asked him, hey, how's Miami's approach been to you since you've committed to Florida State? He said, honestly, I feel like they've gone even harder. Coach Roland Smith, Pop Cooney, Kevin Beard, Mario Cristobal, all involved in his commitment, or his recruitment, I should say. And I asked him, are you looking to take any official visits besides Florida State? He has one locked in for June 9th with UCF. And he also said he wants to take one to Penn State, West Virginia, Florida State, and Miami. So we will be seeing more of LaWayne McCoy at the University of Miami. He visited 2 weeks ago with, I believe, a few other South Florida guys. Said he really liked it, said he got to see a side of the Hurricanes that he hasn't seen before. So I feel like Miami's making some progress in that sense with LaWayne McCoy. So that's definitely a situation we should continue monitoring moving forward. Another guy that Miami is turning it up a notch with, Ricky Knight out of Palm Beach Gardens. Steven, that's your guy. You've been on him since he became a ranked prospect. What was your conversation like with him recently? Where do you think things stands? And it seems like he's locked in an official visit with the Canes as well.
Yeah, Miami is pushing really, really hard for Ricky Knight. In fact, right now it seems like they're pushing harder than probably any other school for him. Florida State was kind of the front runner in that recruitment for quite some time because Florida State jumped on him really, really early, and they were kind of communicating the most with him as well. But Miami has really kicked it up a notch here, in the last maybe 1 or 2 months or so, in really pushing to grab Ricky Knight's attention. He's been to campus now 5 times in 2023, which to me is just, outrageous that you could visit a campus that much in really 4 months, because February was a dead period where kids weren't able to get to campus. So Miami is making a really, really serious push for Ricky Knight. Something I did find kind of interesting that he told me, though, is that this daily communication, it's not going to be the be all end all in his recruitment. He said, just constantly showing me and reaffirming me that you're interested in me isn't necessarily going to be the deciding factor in his recruitment. He said that, he doesn't have to talk to Florida State every second of every day to know that they're really interested in him and that he is really interested in them. That level of security, especially from a recruit, that lack of insecurity from a 17-year-old kid, I find just unbelievably mature. I can think of a lot of people, our age and older, who aren't half as secure as this kid is. But Miami is showing a lot of love. They're probably talking to him the most out of anyone at the moment. Florida State's number 2. He's also going to take an official visit to Illinois. But to me, I feel like this is really kind of a 2-horse race between Miami and Florida State. Feels like Miami's a little bit ahead right now. I feel like the On3 recruiting prediction machine percentages and estimations are pretty accurate at the moment as far as his recruitment goes, because it does feel right now like Miami's trending in a little bit of a positive direction. Florida State's a little bit behind, but certainly not going anywhere. I think the Noles are seriously going to give Miami a run for their money. I know Ricky Knight's been really impressed with Patrick Surtain over there at Florida State, but Jamil Ade and Mario Cristobal certainly aren't going anywhere. with Miami. They are letting him know that they think he could be one of the guys in this year's class. Personally, I could kind of see something maybe coming over the summer as far as an announcement goes. He has said that he wants to take all of his official visits before he makes any decision. So right now he's got 3 OVs set for the month of June. He'll visit Illinois, Florida State, and Miami. He's still open to other schools. If anyone wants to come into the picture, he'll certainly have a conversation with them. But to me, it really feels like it's between Miami and Florida State right now.
Yeah, I do have to say, during the 2023 recruiting cycle, one of my favorite parts about covering recruiting was watching those, Miami and Florida State battles on the recruiting show, Hakeem Williams, Ruben Bain, Conrad Hussey towards the end. So always interesting to see, those two big rivals battle out for, some of the top prospects coming out of South Florida. I know since Florida State got Surtain up there not too long ago as their DB coach, that's a big thing with his connections to South Florida. So definitely going to be another situation to monitor with that Florida State and Miami battle on the recruiting show. I kind of wanted to take a step back too, kind of back to my trip to Miami Central. I had the chance to speak with the newest Miami Hurricane commit, Vincent Shavers, and we just talked about his decision to commit to Miami. When did he really, know he wanted to be a Cane? And he told me Miami's been recruiting him since his freshman year, so it was kind of not a, why do I want to be a Cane? It's, hey, when do I want to be a Cane? And since, Derek Nicholson came on staff, he says he's been to Miami Central a few times. They've built a really good connection. And the last trip he took to Miami, they just had a conversation. He was like, wow, I really want to do this. I really want to pull the trigger and become a Miami Hurricane. So make sure to check out that story that we have on Vincent Shavers as well. And jumping back again to the 2026 class, Karen Maycock out of Miami Central as well picked up an offer from Derek Nicholson after he was down there evaluating some of their players. I had the chance to watch him at their practice on Monday, and man, can I tell you, I feel like this kid's going to be special. He's a 2026 kid getting legitimate playing time as a freshman on one of, if not the best high school teams in the country. And you couldn't tell he's a freshman. 6'2", 180, good frame, can move very well. He used to play safety. Now he's at the linebacker position. So he brings that versatility that everyone loves to see. So make sure to check out that update on him. Also, stepping away from recruiting, we continue our countdown of our top 50 players post-spring, and today we are on number 30. One of my favorite players, one of the most exciting players I think will be on the team next year, Ray Joseph. Steven, Ray is the guy that we saw kind of, didn't surprise people, but had a really, really good spring game. What do you think of Ray headed into his freshman year? What do you think, people should expect from him realistically as a true freshman going into next season?
Yeah, I was really, really high on Ray as a high school recruit. I had the chance to see him practicing in San Antonio down at the All-American Bowl. He looked really, really good. I thought he was one of the really elite talents. Even with his size, I thought he was one of the best players on the field at the All-American Bowl, practices, quite frankly. I did expect him to maybe explode a little bit more during the spring. That being said, though, it's certainly not a knock by any means for him to come in and play the way that he ended up playing, because he definitely did have, I think, a pretty good spring by the standards of most true freshmen. However, me and Gary had talked about this a little bit. We really thought that there was a good chance that he was going to step onto the field in Coral Gables and immediately be the best receiver on the field. He's maybe not there quite yet, but I still think that there are a lot of really positive signs and a lot of things to really like about Ray a lot. I think he has potential to be a really, really good slot receiver. He's got a great football IQ, really good understanding of spacing, and good knowledge of opponent zone coverages and concepts and things along those lines. I think he's a very good route runner who is only going to get better. It'd be great if he was a little bit taller, but what he doesn't have in size, he makes up for in really just about everything else. I think he's someone who is going to end up having a really good Miami career. I was pretty high on him coming out of high school. I'm going to stay high on him. He's a recruit that I really like a lot. Maybe wasn't as explosive as, an 18-year-old kid who hadn't yet graduated high school as maybe we would have thought. But for God's sakes, the guy I think he either just graduated high school or he's about to actually graduate high school. So I think there's certainly a lot of things to smile about. I think he's a guy who still has a really, really bright future, and I think he's going to develop very, very well.
Yeah, Ray Ray is one of those guys where, throughout the recruiting process, he says, "Hey, I want to be Ken," and I feel like that's something that you can't teach kids or you can't put into recruits, that love, that genuine passion, that want to be a Hurricane and make the program great. So Ray Ray is definitely a guy that I am excited to watch this upcoming season. So make sure you check out our analysis on him. Also on the site from the past few days, we have an update with IMG defensive lineman Jaden Jackson, who's looking for a return to Miami soon. An update with American head coach Mike Smith, who discusses the growing connection between American heritage and the Hurricanes. And he gives his thoughts on Coach Cristobal and where he thinks the program will head in year two as well. We also have an update with 2024 Miami commit Chance Robinson, who's plans on taking OVs to Florida and Penn State, but he says he remains locked in with the Canes as that was his dream as a child growing up. When I heard the OVs to Florida and Penn State, I kind of figured that. He's always said since he committed to Miami that his recruitment's still going to be open and that he will still explore options. He told me pretty much, he said, "Hey, everyone else gets to enjoy the recruiting process. Why can't I? Miami knows I'm still loyal to them. Miami knows I'm locked in, but I just want to see other things just like a lot of commits do." Also kind of want to touch base on that, Steven, just seeing, other commits. Obviously, we had some big news from Jeremiah Smith this past weekend. Sorry, guys, to bring him up. I know some fans don't like talking about him as much because he's committed to Ohio State, but just on that general topic of, kids committing somewhere and then going on official visits to other places or unofficial visits. Do you take that as something really concerning, Steven, or is that just all part of the process?
No, it's 100% part of the process. I would not be concerned about this at all if I'm Miami, especially with a guy like Chance Robinson, where, it wasn't really an extremely close race or battle or anything like that, really since the start of 2023. I mean, whenever we had the chance to speak with him, basically every time that I had the chance to speak with him leading up to his recruitment, there were kind of signs that, commitment might be on the horizon or this might be coming eventually at some point. Or at the very least, that Miami was definitely the front runner and that Miami was definitely the program that, he was really loving the most. It definitely still feels that way. But Florida State and Penn State, there are a couple other programs that have certainly put their dues in with Chance Robinson, that were certainly making their own respective pushes. And, programs that are, still trying to recruit him, really, really aggressively. And, just look at this from a psychological standpoint of being, a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. And, you commit to a program and then you get a couple other schools that say, "Hey man, do you want to fly up to, wherever, location X for a weekend, and, we'll show, we'll wine and dine you and your family. We'll show you, how great everything is. We'll treat you like royalty for a weekend. Oh, and by the way, you actually don't have to do anything. You just have to physically be here." I mean, it's pretty freaking hard for a kid to say no to that. And, a lot of these kids, I think kids are more and more starting to understand that, yeah, this is kind of a one-time thing. You're only going to be recruited as a high school recruit once. Now, I know, of course, with the transfer portal, that kind of, things are a little bit different, and, you can be also recruited as like a college prospect and all that stuff, but you're only going to get to do this as a high school recruit once. And there's something to be said for enjoying the recruiting process. And I think that's what a lot of these kids want to do. And I think it's what they're hearing from their parents, from their coaches. I think from a lot of college coaches as well, is, not really being pressured and saying, "Hey man, enjoy this moment, go out there and do your thing." I mean, I know that Miami, in general, has been a school that, in large part, with their recruits, they don't really put a lot of pressure on their guys. That's kind of, their whole thing is they're not going to be, grabby and nervous and anxious about, Chance Robinson going on an official visit to Penn State. They're not, they're just not that kind of program, at least from a recruiting standpoint. And so, I think that this really is all just part of the process. Quite frankly, with as excited as Chance Robinson is about Miami, I'm not that concerned. I think I would be a little bit more concerned if this was maybe like a Jamari Howard Michigan State situation where he's kind of been on decommitment or flip watch for a little while, and now all of a sudden he's saying, hey, I do think like I'm going to go visit like all these different schools. Then I think I would be nervous. But with Chance Robinson, because I think Miami is still so clearly the undisputed front runner, and the fact that he committed there for a very serious reason, I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%, Stephen. I think when National Signing Day rolls around, we're going to get that, hey, Chance Robinson just signed his national letter of intent and he is a Cane. But honestly, if I'm a recruit, I think I'm taking all these official visits and going places. I thought this was the funniest thing ever. Before Ruben Bain committed to Miami, he took that official visit to Florida State, and Coach Mike Norvell was singing his mom happy birthday and whining and dining his whole family. I'm like, wow, if I was a recruit, I'd take advantage of every moment I have of that. So if I'm a Canes fan, I'm not too worried about Chance Robinson at the end of the day. And to wrap up the show, we touch base with our baseball team as they head to their matchup tomorrow versus NC State in the ACC Baseball Championship. We have a story on Blake Steer, Mr. Hollywood, the superstar freshman, and he pretty much just said, hey, why not us? A lot of people have been doubting us throughout the season. I know we had our ups and downs. Things weren't looking too good for us, but we're hot right now, so why not us? And we also have an update with head coach DeMar as well, so make sure to check that out on the site. That's all that we have for this episode of Good Morning CaneSport. I hope you guys all enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. For Stephen Wagner, I'm Izubee Charles. Thank you for watching.